Hi, everybody. It's Lisa. How are you? Um, I'm gonna work on my turkey, and let me just tell you, it's a good painting. It has been through hell and back in the move, and still sticky. Beads are holding on, drills, whatever you want to call them. So I'm gonna do a WIP-n-Chat uh, that I've been meaning to do for a while, but I didn't know what the end result was going to be. So I'm going to work on M, which is the black color. And I think you can see all right. When I watch WIP-n-Chats, I just listen. So, if you really want to watch me do that, that's cool. And lighting okay? Let me see. Let me turn this up a little bit. I like it on high. 1, 2, 3. Yep, still in frame. Everybody's good. Okay. So, okay. Here we go again. Bane of my existence. I always do it wrong that I stick my arm on the light. I mean, the button. So, I didn't even know where to begin. Begin the begin. I guess I'll start at the beginning. When Greg and I first got married, I had a 1-bedroom apartment and he had a 1-bedroom apartment, and his was filthy. And so I'm like, just, move into mine. So we lived in that apartment for about a year. And we were just kind of miserable because we had gotten the cats by this point. And so a 1-bedroom apartment is very, very small. And let me check, make sure I'm in focus. Yep. Excuse my hands. Don't even look at them. Just, it's been a rough month. Lizzie was talking about how she hoped 2020 got better. Yeah, me too. Um, so we had been looking for some place to live that took cats. And my aunt, or my husband's aunt, lived out in a small suburb of San Antonio. And she said that there was a mobile home for rent, and do we want the number? And we're like, sure, we'll call them. What the heck? Because we weren't having that great of luck trying to find some place to live. And even though Von Army, where we ended up moving to, was out in the country, my husband was actually very happy about this idea. I'm not saying he's antisocial, but when it comes to being home, he likes wide open spaces. So, anyway, so we went to look at this trailer and mobile home, modular home, whatever you want to call it. It was a 3-bedroom, good size. Had quite the yard, and we were like, okay, cool, we'll take it. How much? And he said 800, and we're like, okay, And the only thing included was garbage. They had a collection bin, and we had to pay for water, sewer, or not sewer, but water and regular electricity. We're like, okay, that's cool. So we moved into there, and we lived there for almost 8 years. 7 years, excuse me. And in the meantime, we had kids come and go, his son and my son. And what we found out was that we were subletting the mobile home from the guy that we rented from was renting the property from the park. So the park really didn't have anything to do with us. We paid our rent to another guy and he took care of everything else. So if we had any problems, we didn't go to the park manager. We went to our landlord and his name was Todd. And so everything was fine. And then we lived there about 3 years. And when we moved in, we had asked about pets, and he's like, I don't care, whatever. We told him we had cats, and he's like, I don't care. So we lived there. And then my mother-in-law said, hey, we're getting boxer puppies. Would you like to get a boxer puppy? And so my husband, who had grown up with boxers his whole life, was like, okay, great, let's get a boxer. So we picked out our boxer and we brought her home and she was cute and everything like that. And so we had the cats and we had a boxer puppy. So then a month later, my mother-in-law calls and says, there's one boxer puppy that nobody claimed and the owner wants to get rid of it, or the breeder. And would you like this other boxer puppy? And because, it's better to have two because then they have somebody to play with. And so my husband's like, what do you think, Lisa? And I said, okay. So we got the other boxer puppy and they're sisters. And Greg's dog's name was Dixie. We got her first. And then Daisy became mine. So we had Dixie and Daisy and the cats. We went to the park owner and we asked him if we could fence in our yard, and he said no. And so because of that, we had to put the girls out on leads. And so leads, you stake them into the ground and then you give them a long chain. And that worked out fine. Well, then I think the girls were maybe 1 or 2, maybe 1. This German Shepherd showed up, just a stray. And since we live in the country, people abandon animals. And so we took in the German Shepherd, and she was a female, and her name was Sadie. So everything was fine, but Sadie was a barker, and Dixie is a barker. Am I still in frame? Yeah. So, we were constantly hustling them in and out. The girls were all kennel trained, so they slept in their kennels. They would actually go in their kennels and during the day and just lay in there, and it wasn't a punishment thing. They knew that was their space, so it was easier on us because even though the mobile was decent size, like I said, we had 3 bedrooms. It was still a lot of dog. So Greg would go to work and I would be the one that would have to deal with the dogs. And when he came home from work, it was like, oh, thank God your dad's home. He can deal with you from now on. I like dogs, okay? I've had dogs before in the past, before I met Greg. And so I'm okay with dogs. They're a lot of work. Cats are a lot of work, but dogs especially are a lot of work. So besides 3 dogs, we ended up with 7 cats. So we had 10 animals, Greg and I living in this trailer. And life was cool and life was fine. And then I was working at the IHOP as a waitress, and I know I've talked about this before. If you watch my channel before, um, I fell and I went to the doctor and the workman's comp doctor, and it ended up being an injury that is a lifelong injury. So they paid for whatever they felt like I needed to be done, and the rest of it is up to Greg and I. And what I have is called spinal stenosis, which means in my lower back, because of all the years of being a waitress, the bones are pushing on my spinal cord. And so it's causing me a lot of pain. I found this out in April of 2019, and I continued to work until the middle of May, and then I just couldn't do it anymore. So we had kind of a rough summer. I was in pain, and the park was sold to different people, a different company. And I had the girls out one day on their chains, barking and doing their thing. And the new owners came up to me and said that we needed to get rid of our dogs and clean up our yard. And I was like, okay. We had talked to our landlord in the years that we had lived there. We had re-signed the lease. It was open-ended, and he had told us that because we had been there so long with the dogs, that they were grandfathered in, and not to worry about it, that it was fine, that we didn't need to pay a pet deposit or anything, but from here on out, that they were not going to rent to people with dogs anymore. And we were like, oh, okay. But the dumb us, we didn't get it, put it into the lease that said, no dogs, that we had been grandfathered in. We just, we had been there so long, and he was a hands-off landlord. We did whatever we wanted to. We didn't even call him for repairs. Greg replaced the garbage disposal, the washing machine, what else? The oven, the stove. Greg replaced it out of our own pocket. I mean, we never asked him for anything. We put an extra air conditioning thing in there because the one that he had installed didn't work anymore. So we had did it ourselves. Because Greg's thing was, he's going to see that we have these cats and these dogs, and he's going to kick us out, and why start chaos? And I'm like, yeah, okay. So when this lady said to me we had to get rid of our dogs, I just kind of went, whatever, because our dogs were grandfathered in, and I worried about it. It bothered me. I thought about it, but it was low on my list of priorities. My priority was my back was freaking killing me. And also when I stopped working, it was a tremendous financial burden on my husband and I. So we had a pretty lean summer and fall. And I stopped watching unboxings for a while because I could feel myself get jealous, and I'm like, what is wrong with you? And I'm thinking, I don't want to watch unboxings anymore because I can't buy anything. So, and it's not like I didn't have anything to do or any diamond paintings. It's just like, I just like to shop, and I wanted to get new ones, and I didn't. So in the meantime, my mother's estate settled, and we were given some money. And so we had a tremendous amount of bills to pay off before we could even think of anything else. Because by this point, Greg was like, I want to buy a house and get out of here. I'm sick of paying rent. And I'm like, absolutely. That's a fantastic idea. So, did you see what I did? Put my placer down and I moved everything all around, which I didn't want to do. Okay. Dead air. Sorry. Trying to think where I was at. I need a drink. So, we owed back taxes. We owed the spinal surgeon. We owed taxes on the car. I mean, we owed everybody and their brother. And so we got everything all paid up. My husband has a Chevy Suburban, a 3/4 ton Chevy Suburban, and thank God it's a 3/4 ton Chevy Suburban. And we got his truck in great shape. His truck's running great. Had a little work done to my Subaru. And so things were going good. And so we went back and forth about what we wanted to do about the Galdang, buying a house or whatever it is. What he wanted to buy property and build a tiny house and live on it. And I know my husband, I love him to pieces, but he works really hard at work. I know he does. But when it comes to house stuff, it's just like not his forte. So I knew in my heart of hearts that if we, bought a piece of property in God knows where, Texas, and moved into it, that I would be living in a tent because he would be. I don't want to build a house. I don't know how to build a house. I just want to live in a house. I want to. It's like with the car. I don't want to know how a car drives. I just want to get in the car and drive. You know what I mean? I hope I'm still filming. Maybe. So we decided that we would wait until after the first of the year to make some decisions about whether we wanted to build a house, buy a house, get property, what we wanted to do. So in December the 4th, I went in and had a steroid shot. And the next day, I lost my balance and fell over and hurt myself. And I called the doctor and I said, the steroid shot is not working. I am still in a lot of pain. And she said, it's because you fell and you need to heal and then you will feel better. And I said, okay. I had the steroid shot December the 4th. It did not kick in until, say, January 6th. It took a long time for it to kick in. And when it did kick in, I was like, oh, thank God, it's one less thing to worry about. I'm also perimenopausal. So, I got that fun stuff going on too. And after I had the steroid shot, I don't know if it has anything to do with anything, but I started my lady time. And I was like, I had not had one in a year. And I'm like, what in the heck is going on? And I started, I'm still sweating at night. I can almost guarantee you that at midnight and 4 a.m., I will wake up drenched in sweat. And there's nothing I can do about it because my half sister has breast cancer, and they determined that it was brought on by hormones. And so the doctor told every woman that's related to her, all my sisters and me, that we cannot have estrogen. So we just got kind of suck it up, buttercup, and get on with life. In the meantime, I also had some major tooth issues. I went to the dentist. I went to the clinic, and they want to do a bunch of extractions and do a partial, and which is fine with me because on Christmas Day I was so much pain that I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I mean, I think that's how you could probably win a war, is torture by teeth, because tooth pain is just terrible. So we had kind of gotten to a place where things were getting a little better. We had some answers about my teeth. My back was feeling better. We had gotten, settled the estate for my mom. So we had money in the bank. And everything was fine. Am I still in focus? I hope I am, people. If I'm not, I'm sorry. So we get a text from our landlord, and he says, the property that you're living in has been sold. You need to get out in 2 weeks. And we're like, oh! And we are like, no. And so we went into full freak out panic mode. And Greg's like, oh my gosh, what are we going to do? And, I'm like, blah. I'm freaking out. I'm full of steroids. I'm full of hormones from being perimenopausal. I suffer from depression and anxiety to begin with. I wanted to go lay down in my bed, cover my head, and not move. I just wanted to stay there forever and not, I just was like, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do this, I can't do, over and over. And if you don't suffer from depression and anxiety, you don't even know. The other thing is that because my back started feeling better, my doctor just decided to stop prescribing my muscle relaxer. So in the midst of this, unbeknownst to me, a muscle relaxer that I've been taking for 14 months, I'm now addicted to. My body can't live without it. Even though my back doesn't hurt like it used to. Name frame. Hope so. I'm now addicted, and I can't stop. And the only way to get off of it is to taper down. And so we started looking for houses to live in. And we wanted to take the dogs and the cats, because if we own the house, we could have as many as we wanted to, or so we thought. Well, it ends up in San Antonio that there's a limit. You can only have 7 pets. So we were 3 over. So what are you going to do? You're going to choose between which cat you don't really like or which dog you don't like? What are you going to do? And immediately you know, we then get a text that the feral cats that we've been feeding, because we live out in the country and people drop them off, the landlord said that it was now our responsibility because they were clustering on my back step, because that's where I fed them. It was now my problem to get rid of these cats. And I'm just like, I'm not the only one who feeds them. My husband's Aunt Judy, who lives right down the street from us, I mean, not 4 houses away, she feeds the feral cats. The guy that lives in the middle fed the feral cats. Another lady that I know for sure that had the red truck fed the feral cats. Everybody fed the feral cats. And suddenly it's my problem to get rid of these cats. All right, picture this. I'm in withdrawal from medication. I'm full of steroids. I'm menopausal. I have a stressful situation going on, and I suffer from anxiety and depression. I'll give you 2 guesses where my mind went to. And it ain't pretty. And if you don't suffer from depression and anxiety and you don't know what I'm talking about and you're like, oh, it's not that bad, you can figure this out, I'd like you to walk a mile in my moccasins. I think I'm going to stop here. I can feel myself getting anxious again. But I will continue this WIP-n-Chat, and I'll leave you right there. Like I said, I'm still working on my turkey from Amazon. It's a good painting. It's a good painting. This thing has been through hell and back in the move. I even actually spilled coffee. I had the plastic sheet over it. I actually spilled some coffee on top of it, and it's fine. Oh, it's a good painting. But anyway, I will come back to you and we'll do another part. Thank you so much for watching. Subscribe if you want. Give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs down. I don't care. This is Lisa. Have a great day. Bye.